Alison.
Hi, Sophie.
Welcome back to episode 2 of our Dogcast. If you remember, last time we discussed dog breeds, but today we're going to look at attitudes towards dogs. So I'm going to start by asking you what you think a typical British attitude towards dogs is.
Okay, Sophie. Well, I would say that a typical British attitude is that we absolutely love our dogs, and they're definitely part of the family, and they usually live indoors, and some people might go too far sometimes, but yes, we often see them almost as if they're children. But yeah, it's a very, very positive attitude to dogs. We love them. Would you agree?
100%. Interestingly, my dogs live outside, but when I was younger, people would often comment that it was very cruel to leave a dog outside in a kennel, even though they've got a full body of fur. But yes, I think some people are quite surprised by the fact that in the UK, we bring dogs to restaurants. They're often allowed inside offices. And yeah, they're considered almost human.
Yes, that's true. I remember when we were at WeWork, there were quite a few dogs in the building, and I thought that was lovely, didn't you?
I love dogs, so yes, I thought it was amazing. A little sausage dog running around. However, not all of my students love dogs, and there were a few incidences where students would jump up on the seat after they'd been startled by a rogue bulldog or a small pooch coming out of nowhere.
Okay.
So I understand it's not to everyone's taste.
Absolutely. And you mentioned that in the UK we often take a dog to a restaurant. But yes, we often take a dog to the pub. And I think in every British pub, dogs are very welcome. And they often have a sign up saying dogs are welcome at the pub.
I know. There are lots of famous pub dogs. And you can even buy a book about Britain's best pub dogs.
Gosh, I didn't know that. But anyway, let's move on. So, do you think, Sophie, that sometimes in the UK we mollycoddle our dogs too much?
What do you mean by mollycoddle?
Okay, well, mollycoddle means basically pamper, I think. Okay, basically give them too much attention, make too much fuss over them. That's what mollycoddle means. And it's actually a negative word, isn't it?
Well, in that case, yes. I've seen lots of very overweight dogs because their owners feed them human food or give them a piece from their own fork or their own plate. Which is very sad to see. And I've seen lots of dogs being carried far too often. You know, they're not babies and they should be running around and having fun.
Oh, yes.
Have you noticed something similar?
Oh, yes, absolutely. A friend of mine's just got a new dog, a lockdown dog, let's say, and she actually talks to it like it is definitely a child, and she actually calls it my child. So she says things like, "Oh, come along, child. Don't be a naughty child." And I just find it really weird, and it's quite annoying, actually. I want to kind of tap her on the shoulder and say, "It's a dog." And on top of that, she gets really worried. It's actually a Springer Spaniel, and that's the same dog that you've got. And she gets really kind of upset if it rolls in the grass. And last week when we were out walking, it went in a little stream, and the stream was about 10 inches deep, and she got really worried. And I just had to remind her and said, you know what, dogs can actually swim. I don't think I really understand it if you worry too much about a dog. I mean, I think dogs are animals and they need to exhibit natural behaviour. For example, getting muddy.
Absolutely. I think we agree that a no-nonsense attitude might be best.
Yes. What does that mean, Sophie? A no-nonsense attitude?
Well, if we take no nonsense, it normally means that we're very strict and we won't be deterred from what we think. So you could also have a no-nonsense parent or a no-nonsense teacher.
Absolutely.
With whom you can't argue back.
Yes, yes. So tell me, is no-nonsense a positive attitude or a negative attitude?
I would say generally the idea is that it's quite negative, maybe like a drill sergeant type of image.
That's interesting, because I would have said it's positive, actually. Yeah. I like the idea of, being strict and... I don't know. Well, anyway, no silliness. Okay, that's what it means. Okay, never mind, we can disagree. But anyway, Sophie, you've lived in Spain, I think, and you're living in Spain now. So tell me, what do you think is the attitude to dogs in Spain?
Well, I've noticed that dogs are only really present in the parks and when people are walking them. I've never seen anyone bring a dog inside a shop, inside a restaurant, or inside a pub. So I think they maybe draw a line where British people don't. But was it similar in Greece?
Yes, pretty similar. I mean, traditionally, in Greece, a dog would be like a working animal. It would have a job to do. For example, it might be a guard dog, in which case it would definitely live outside, or it might be a sheepdog. Sheepdogs are quite popular because there are quite a lot of sheep in Greece. And so you often, if you take a walk in the mountains, you'll come across a flock of sheep with like 2 or 3 dogs. They're definitely working dogs. However, recently the culture has changed and more people keep dogs as pets. And I'm sure they love them just as much as anybody else does. But definitely not in the same way as British people do, I don't think. Not to that extent yet.
What do you imagine the attitude is like in Korea?
Oh, well, from what I understand from my students, I think they adore their dogs. They love them. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, I've been shown many a picture of a perfectly groomed pooch or a poodle. I tend to find Korean dogs have much more interesting hairstyles than a British dog ever could. But no, I think Koreans are maybe more similar to Brits in that respect, and treat them like they're babies.
Yes, definitely. And so many of my students actually have dogs, and very often the dog is actually in the lesson as well. And that's fine because my dog is usually in the lesson too. Yes.
I've noticed that. But what does surprise me is I often see the dog climbing over the furniture.
Now that's when I would say a no-nonsense attitude would be better. Because I don't like my dog on the furniture. She does live inside, but she's not allowed on the furniture.
Yes, I think that's a good approach, definitely.
Okay, so Sophie, I'd like to ask you another question. What do you think about buying clothes and accessories for dogs? Is that a sign that you love them?
Oh no, in my opinion, it's a sign that you're slightly deranged. For me, like we've said many times before, a dog is an animal and they have fur for a particular reason. And like I said, my dogs live outside and we've never felt the need to hand them a pair of wellies or a waterproof because they are dogs and they can look after themselves. So although I find the photos that I see online very amusing, I love a dog Halloween costume as much as the next person, but really, the poor dog must be quite uncomfortable, and for me, it's a big no. What do you think?
Well, I think generally I'd agree with you. The only time I ever bought any clothes for my dog was when I moved back to the UK from Greece, and it was awfully cold, and it was January. And because my dog Poppy is very short-haired, I thought she'd feel cold. So I bought her a little coat. And actually, it wasn't very nice. It was a ghastly orange colour. But anyway, so she wore it about 3 times, and she absolutely hated it. And it was an awful fuss and a bother to sort of put her in it. And then she always tried to wriggle out of it. And I just realised that during the walk, she was actually quite uncomfortable. So I gave up, and I gave it to the charity shop. And you know what? She's absolutely fine. So no, I don't think dogs need clothes, and they definitely don't need shoes or jewellery even. No, absolutely no.
Well, yeah, I think it's an added expense that's not necessary, especially when there are so many more expensive things that a dog needs. I've heard vet bills can be very pricey.
Oh my goodness, yes, especially in the UK. That's actually one of my gripes about the UK, is the cost of the vet bill. For example, my vet, it's £100 just to go there, even if you don't have any treatment. And, £100 for 20 minutes for nothing. I think that's just too much.
Extortionate, definitely.
Yeah, astronomical is the word I was thinking of, but yes. Whereas in Greece, it was about €20 to go to the vet. And if your dog is sick, maybe about €50. Whereas in the UK, hundreds of pounds. That's because in the UK, a lot of pets and dogs are insured. What do you think about insurance for dogs?
I love the concept. We obviously want to look after our dogs, but I think in practice, it's again an extra expense. My dogs are not insured, so if there is a minor problem, my father will treat them because they are dogs. They normally get cuts or scrapes. But if it's something more serious, then we'd rather just make a big payment, a lump sum payment. So, for example, one of my dogs, Fudge, poor guy, he lost one of his eyes because I'm not laughing, he ran into some barbed wire in a field, bless him. So yeah, we paid for it then and there. But I think the price we would have paid for continuous pet insurance for 3 dogs, it would have been far, far higher.
And I think the fact that pet insurance is actually quite a big business, that's the main reason why the vet bills are so high, because they always assume that you're not actually paying it and that you're going to claim it back from insurance. So it's a kind of vicious circle, I think.
It would make sense. Yeah. But there are other ways to care for your dog. For example, one of my best friends, her dog is a vegan.
Oh my goodness, I've never heard of that. Tell me more.
Well, he's got his own Instagram page. And yes, he's a golden retriever, and she buys all of his food organically, and she is herself a vegan, so they both share a vegan diet. Now, he doesn't eat the same food, he has special dog food, but yes, she thinks it's best for his health.
Goodness me, can you actually really buy vegan dog food? Is that true? I can hardly believe it.
Yes, it's very expensive. I've seen the invoice from her purchase, and I don't agree But, it's her dog and she's doing what she thinks is best.
Interesting. Yes. A vegan dog, that means no milk, no dairy, no cheese. Poor dogs. Dogs love cheese, don't they?
Oh, I don't think my dogs have ever had cheese. My dogs they just have dog food, and at Christmas, we give them a special treat of a pig's ear.
Yes. I don't buy pig's ears for Poppy. They sell them in my local shop. I just don't like the look of them. I kind of feel sorry for the pig whose ear it was, because
they're very smelling, yeah.
Oh, yeah, and they smell. But I buy her rawhide bones. She likes chewing. But I draw the line at the pig's ear. Okay, so there's something else I wanted to ask you about, Sophie, and that's puppy mills. What do you think about those?
Well, they seem to be a sad fact of life, to be honest. So yeah, puppy mills are where you can buy a puppy, usually illegally, for a very low price. And these puppies are often not properly vaccinated, and they're often taken from their mothers far too early. So in these days, in the current climate, with people buying dogs for lockdown, there's been a surge in demand, and unfortunately, these poor little puppies are the ones suffering.
Yes, I agree with you. So a puppy mill, I suppose mill there, it's a bit like factory, isn't it? Like a puppy factory. And it's also not very good for the mother of the dog because, she's forced to have maybe 3 or even 4 litters a year, which is actually very bad for their health. And as you said, the puppies aren't healthy usually. Yes, they're cheap, but you should never, ever buy a puppy from a puppy mill. Only an official breeder, don't you think?
Yes, we buy all of our dogs from reputable breeders, so we get a copy of the parents' heritage. We know that they've got all their vaccines. We get a list of their achievements, if they've won any competitions, and yes, we like to know exactly where the puppy is from.
That's a good idea. Now, you mentioned lockdown, Sophie, and I'm going to tell you a fun fact, okay, about the pet industry during lockdown. What do you think it is?
Oh, fun? Well, I'm ready to hear some good news.
You're absolutely right, okay. Interestingly, I heard on the radio the other day that the pet industry is actually doing well under lockdown. Not just people who are selling actual puppies, but because more people are buying dogs, these companies like Pets at Home and those big pet stores, they're all doing fantastically well. Their profits are up, and they've even hired more people during the lockdown.
It's nice to hear one industry is booming, at least. No, but I'm not at all surprised. My social media is plastered with new puppies and their little luxurious dog beds and dog toys. So I think now that we're trapped in the house, we're giving our dogs a lot more attention.
Yes. And if you've got a new dog, you need to buy lots of new things for it. So sure. But yes, it's good that one industry is doing well. Okay, Sophie. So it was very interesting to hear your attitudes about dogs. I think we kind of agree generally, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. There's a consensus.
All right. Okay. So, bye from us, and I hope you enjoyed listening to our thoughts about dogs. Okay, let us know if you'd like us to discuss another topic. Okay, so we'll be back soon. So it's bye from me.
And bye from me.
Okay, bye.
Ta-da!